Hey everyone, welcome back with No Mac. WWF No Mercy for the Nintendo 64 is my favorite wrestling game of all time. However, it has a plethora of issues that range from annoying to just plain unacceptable. For as much love as No Mercy gets, I think it's important to look back on the things it did wrong as well. And we've got a long one for you today, as I essentially rant about my favorite wrestling game, so let's get started right away. Alright, so I'm going to start off with pet peeves and eventually make my way up to complete bullshit in this game. My first issue is Taka Michinoku in the Royal Rumble in the WWF title story mode. The first chapter has you beat Taka in a Rumble qualifying match. So why is it that he gets to be in the match in a better placement despite losing to me in the last chapter? The Rumble in this game tried to replicate the 2000 Royal Rumble as accurately as it could with the entrance. In the Royal Rumble 2000, Kai and Tai, Taka and Funaki, were upset that they weren't an official part of the match, so many times throughout, these two would randomly interfere and get thrown out very quickly. So it's clear that's why Taka is here, but if you don't know that reasoning, then he just seems to get a free Rumble spot. Also, why not just swap him with Funaki? Speaking of the Rumble, why is it in free play I can't choose 30 entrants? Other than the first encounter in 1988, the Rumble was known for only having 30 superstars at this point in time. WrestleMania 2000 had this option, so why not No Mercy? Especially since in certain paths in story mode, there are only 30 entrants. Moving on from the Rumble though, we do have to acknowledge that No Mercy has a large roster for its time. Unfortunately, a lot of wrestlers lack proper themes. Undertaker is the most notable, but we'll zero in on him later on. Dean Malenko has his updated Titantron, but his double Host 7 theme is completely missing for no reason. Christian had a solo theme that was used during his entrances in the PS1 SmackDown titles, but it looks to have not even been considered here. Val Venus had an updated techno version of his theme at this point, but once again, this isn't heard anywhere in the game. Divas such as Ivory, Jacqueline, and the Cats are all missing their themes despite having them in the beta. Instead, we get some of the weirdest songs I've ever heard for these divas, along with Mae Young, Fabulous Moolah, Earl Hebner, Terry Runnels, and more. Not even the SmackDown theme was included despite it being a large part of the game's atmosphere. There were even some tag entrance themes that were removed for some reason, including Kai and Tai's music. Things get worse during the actual entrances. Lots of improvements were made in this regard, but another thing WWF WrestleMania 2000 has over No Mercy is that Titantrons would actually play on the big screens. In No Mercy, these are nowhere to be found for some reason. They might as well have not even included Titantrons at all. Speaking of not being included, there were clearly several planned wrestlers in this title that didn't make the cut. The Mean Street Posse, Gangrel, Dude Love, Midian, Aki Man, Aki Woman, and the Headbangers all have attires, portraits, faces, moves, and taunts included in this game, but are not officially a part of the roster. It seems like Dude Love and Gangrel were the ones who were most likely to be included since they have Titantrons and themes in the beta, but they still were sadly cut. But you can use these parts to recreate them as created wrestlers at least. WrestleMania 2000 and its Japanese counterpart, Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, allowed users to create titles using preset championship designs. It wasn't crazy, but it allowed players to keep track of champions, number of defenses, and potentially create fantasy belts. No Mercy got rid of all that and stuck with the traditional 7 titles in the company at the time. It stinks we can't create our own belts, but the biggest sting in this game is that the game no longer keeps tabs on previous champions or successful defenses during each reign. A record mode was supposed to be added in No Mercy though. It was advertised in gaming magazines at the time and even has a placeholder spot on the menu in beta for No Mercy. The game would keep track of all wins, losses, matches played, and other percentages. Despite Aki's Japanese titles having this feature, I guess we foreigners are just too brain dead to appreciate a feature as advanced as this, because it wasn't included. I mentioned The Undertaker earlier. His appearance in this title is absolutely pitiful, especially for one of the biggest stars at this time. He's essentially the miniature Undertaker with a coat of paint and a new finisher. No entrance themes, not even a reuse of his old one for some reason. His entrance is as generic as they come. His Tron plays, he walks out, that's it. No bike, no badass theme. Even SmackDown 2 used the Raw Anthrax theme and the bike during his entrance there. He even has his snap powerbomb as his regular move despite receiving the last ride as his finisher. On top of that, he doesn't even play any meaningful role in the story mode either. It just seems like wasted potential to me personally. Another superstar related to championship mode that was wasted was the Big Show. This entry is also not necessarily Aki's fault. Big Show was fat in 2000, so WWE sent him to developmental to lose weight as punishment. He was also removed from SmackDown 2 and No Mercy, so he would not receive royalties. All this really did was punish the fans though. Big Show was clearly meant to be a big part of the WWF Championship path since they're mostly based around WrestleMania storylines around 1999 and 2000. He gets replaced by Steven Richards due to Stevie overwriting Big Show's character slot, so they didn't have to do any extra coding. They could have had Undertaker in the slot, but instead, we got Steven Richards. Great. My final minor gripe with this game is the difficulty selection in Championship mode. See, at first, this kinda does matter. If you want to play on easier difficulties, you can depending on the belt chosen. However, after completing a few runs, the game continues to up the difficulty until even matches in the women's division has the AI constantly reversing you. The difficulty keeps rising, making each subsequent playthrough more difficult. This is mostly fine, I suppose, but why give the option to change the difficulty then? And by the time you get to the point where you were trying to get some of the last blocks for 100% completion, you just want to get through previous chapters you played like 6 or 7 times quickly. But the game won't allow this a lot of the time. So, you're just trying to find the story path that'll lead you to the last block or 2 that you need. This can be a pain in the ass, especially since, once again, the option to set your own difficulty level is clearly there. The game just chooses to ignore it and set its own difficulty. Why is it here? Alright, so we're getting on to the aggravating parts of this game now. The issues that really grind my gears, as the kids of today would say. First would have to be the entrances themselves. The peak of entrances should have been in this title. Unfortunately, they peaked in the prequel, WrestleMania 2000. That game we had full entrances, tag entrances, extra themes for multiple gimmicks or teams, Titantrons playing on the big screen, and more. No Mercy added some awesome features like pyro to start off entrances for guys like Taz, the Dudleys, Jericho, and Kane along with their proper lighting effects, but a lot of this is meaningless when the entrances are cut in half. Kane doesn't raise his arms before slamming them down. Stone Cold doesn't go corner to corner doing his iconic taunts. The Rock doesn't raise his arms and soak in the energy of the millions and millions of his fans. No 5-second poses for Edge and Christian. No HBK pyro in the ring. X-Pac doesn't do his crazy ass DX crop chops in the ring. Triple H never spits his water out into the crowd. So many entrances in this game end before they even get started due to this decision. It honestly would have been better overall if they had just cut out the first part of the entrances instead. And on top of all that, tag team entrances were eliminated completely as well. You can still have managers accompany you to the ring, guys come out to the ring together in championship mode quite often as well. But for some reason, you can't have two guys come out together for a tag team entrance? Are you serious? I gotta ask, Aki, were you even trying with this one? Another issue in this title relates to a returning match type in the Aki series, the Handicap match. The APA beating you down in the parking lot seems to be the most infamous example of this for most players. But there are so many damn handicap matches in this game's championship mode. It was like the game's failsafe option. Every path has like 7 to 10 handicap matches, it feels like. As a kid, I would constantly restart whole paths, keeping track of what decisions I made until I could finally find a path without a damn handicap match in it. 9 times out of 10, you are the 1 and 2 on 1. And as I mentioned earlier, you have no choice of difficulty here. It's bad enough having to take on 2 guys at once, but trying to do so while they reverse your weak attacks constantly is infuriating. It wears you down over time. Hell, in the Intercontinental Championship storyline, there's a legitimate path where you have to win 4 fucking handicap matches in a row. And they get progressively more and more difficult too, until you face Shane and Vince for the belt, where it just seems like offense is just not allowed in that match. They spam this match so often that players literally go into the edit options and make each wrestler a super heavyweight just so they can cheese an easy victory in these matches, when most players have to legitimately cheat in order to progress in the game. You know you did wrong. And you know something that would help a lot in this regard that they did in previous hockey games? Have a tag option. Some of these that take place backstage or something having no tag rules, that makes sense, okay. But most of these handicap matches take place inside the ring. The developers just didn't bother putting in a tag feature that was already a thing in older releases for some reason. To summarize this point before moving on, handicap matches and offering the player a serious challenge isn't the issue on occasion. It's when handicap matches are as normal as single and tag team matches and are poorly implemented where the issue lies. Someone needed to tell Aki the arcade days are over and that this game doesn't take quarters. My next aggravating issue relates to the championship paths. Some paths are simple. The WWF path makes you win most matches, so it's easy to keep track of what matches change the story since only like 5 or 6 actually do. The light heavyweight and women's championship paths are super short, so once again, it isn't confusing to keep track. But in the other paths, it's complete lunacy. Sometimes you have to replay entire stories just to change the ending. Sometimes you'll do a new path that'll lead into another path you've already completed. Some paths have the same storylines with slightly different names. Some paths have secret qualifications that the game doesn't tell you, so you have no idea how to unlock the secret path unless you randomly stumble into it. Some paths blatantly lie to you, telling you that you win or lose, the story will change according to the outcome. But then it doesn't. So many paths lead into other paths, it's maddening to keep track. Even online guides can't help you with this because most are either wrong or are missing certain title paths because they don't even know how to 100% things themselves. Oh, and here's the real kicker here. 100%ing a path gets you nothing. No bonus cash, no special unlockables, nothing. Hell, even something small like a $10,000 reward for each belt you 100% complete would have been nice. But what's the point of having this completion status for each belt if you don't get anything for 100% completion? What is the point of it all? Are we just here to suffer? The final downright aggravating issue I have with this game is the dip in frame rates. This is the biggest issue for some, and I understand why. In multi-man matches, the game just can't handle all the hot action. So very noticeable slowdown occurs outside of the ring and backstage, heck, sometimes even in the ring. And if you just want to play as someone who happens to have a manager, well, guess what? Slowdown is inevitable. But now it's time I get into the truly unforgivable problems this game has. These entries are nothing short of pure, unadulterated horse shit. The first one is the in-game economy. I mentioned it earlier about how you should get a reward for 100% completion. You don't, but it would have been nice since you get paid like you're the damn paperboy instead of a WWF superstar. Seriously, some of these prices are just trolling. Everyone knows about the 500,000 hoe character. There was literally no reason whatsoever to make them so expensive. It has to be a joke from the developers. Sure, most players aren't going to play as this character, but for completionists like myself, we want to unlock all this game has to offer. The hoes are the most egregious example of this, but let's not forget about the $80,000, $800 shirt. I mean, seriously, what the fuck? What was the point in this? And it's just a shirt you put on The Rock. It doesn't stand out in any other way than the price. And what sucks is it's actually cool. So they trolled the players who actually wanted this shirt for their Rock costumes and essentially made it so most players don't get the pleasure of owning this. And for what? Who's laughing? Cause it sure as hell ain't me. Then there's the special Rock and Austin weapons. $30,000 each for a big can and a book? Why are the foam weapons as expensive as an arena? They're funny, they're charming, but once again, it feels like Aki is just having a laugh at the player's expense. I don't know, maybe they just coded the prices wrong, no one really knows. Maybe the hose were meant to be $50,000, just like the rest of the unlockables. Maybe the $800 shirt was supposed to only be $8,000, that's reasonable. Honestly, the world will likely never know since it seems like no Aki developer has been interviewed before. That is all on top of the hundreds of other shop items though. And like I said before, you get paid peanuts for championship mode with the best path seemingly paying you out like $8,000 at the most. And these paths aren't short either. It'll take you a few hours to finish a path, so it feels like I'm a wage slave trying to earn cash in this damn game. The other alternative is survival mode, but the payouts aren't necessarily too much better. Let's say the average survival playthrough is like an hour, and you eliminate around 75 foes. You'll likely only get around $45,000 if you pinned most of them. There are people in the comments who will say, oh, well, if you eliminate all wrestlers in survival, you get $1 million bonus and that's how you unlock all the hoes. Yes, this is true. All I need to do to get the money I need to unlock this one incredibly overpriced character is complete what is probably the single most difficult challenge that developers actually intended players to somehow clear. Think about this. This, for the longest time, was a mythical status in the community, even though it was listed as possible in the game guides for No Mercy. I feel like most players weren't actually aware of this $1 million bonus being real until the last few years when it actually popped up on YouTube, and even then, I'm still not sure if most people know about this. Never mind the fact that enemies reverse like crazy near the end of the match when you're already damaged from an hour's worth of wrestling. Never mind the fact that wrestlers constantly get eliminated by AI due to situations completely out of your control, and never mind the fact that the simplest, tiniest, little baby mistake, even being hit from behind, could lead to you being eliminated. I'll just get on that, and you know, once you do get the $1 million, you find out it's still not enough for everything in the shop. They might as well have made it where eliminating all 100 unlocks everything in the shop for you, but hey, completing the hardest challenge in any wrestling game, period, isn't good enough for the devs that worked at Aki. And that's where the biggest issue lies for me. In the in-game economy, you earn what feels like pennies. Nothing you do properly rewards you, if even at all. And nothing ever seems good enough in the game's mind to warrant a fair bonus. And the biggest load of bullshit in this title by far, though, are the game glitches. When wrestling game fans point to a buggy, broken mess, they usually reference WWE 2K20. And you know what? Rightfully so. However, a game that doesn't get mentioned often enough in that regard is this one right here. WWF No Mercy. The glitch brought up most often is the game-breaking bug that shipped with the defective cartridges at launch. Eventually, if you play version 1.0 for too long, your game just deletes itself. All created wrestlers, championship progress, unlocked superstars, all gone. Simply because you had the nerve, the audacity to play the game. Some say it was from using created wrestlers in championship mode and pay-per-view. Even if that is the case and it can be avoided, created wrestlers are meant to be enjoyed in all modes of play. This is completely unforgivable. And to be honest, people still to this day cannot seem to agree if this is the actual cause or not. But you know what game-breaking glitch still exists, even if you do follow those rules? The defective save glitch. What is this? Well, this is a much lesser known soft locking glitch where the game completely stops saving anything after a certain point. This one is also speculation as to what the cause is. Most say it's because of hitting the save button on championship mode too often eventually causes the game to no longer save in any way. So even if you hit the save and finish the chapter, once you exit, you'll go back to when the game last saved. So let's say you're on the Intercontinental title path, chapter 6, when the game accepted your save for the final time. If you complete championship mode, then go back into it after seeing the credits, you'll see the game didn't save and still has you on chapter 6 no matter what you do. From this point on, if you edit attires or create wrestlers, the game won't save. Have a title match and exhibition where a new champ is crowned, the game won't save it. Start a new championship, the game won't save it. Don't even bother torturing yourself with a survival playthrough. The only option here is to manually reset your game yourself, effectively achieving the same result as the last data wipe glitch, but this time, you have to put your save out to the pasture yourself. You have to be the one to pull the plug, which somehow feels worse for me personally. I'm honestly not 100% sure if this issue is in version 1.1, which was the version released in response to the save bug from Aki and THQ, but if you have experienced this game glitch in version 1.1, comment down below. Even though Aki and THQ allowed players to mail in their carts and received a fixed version 1.1, a lot of players were unaware of this. Most had to contend with restarting over and over, hoping and praying it won't happen again. You have to remember, back in 2000, there were no day one patches the developers could immediately send out to all players at the same time to fix this type of game-breaking issue almost instantly. That wasn't an option here. For most, it was play a legitimately broken game or find something else. And that's why these glitches are by far the worst part of the No Mercy experience. No Mercy is often regarded as the perfect game for most N64 fans, but as you can see, there are quite a few stains on this masterpiece's record. But even still, with version 1.1 seemingly correcting things and players having access to emulators, a lot of these issues are seemingly a thing of the past for diehard fans such as myself. Heck, if you want a version of this game with all these issues fixed and more, check out a ROM hack by Retro Randy Price in the description called No Mercy Plus that restores full entrances, missing wrestlers, missing features, and even adds a plethora of new features and moves as well. Well, this was a long one, folks, but if you stuck around this long, why not check out more videos on this channel every Sunday on Aki Sunday, where I compare wrestling games, show off the evolution of the Aki series, do some ROM hack reviews, and more one-off videos such as this. If you want to see me bitch about other Aki games in the future, let me know in the comments below, and also, which of these was your biggest issue today? I play Aki titles every Saturday, and even some non-Aki wrestling games every Wednesday. So check those playthroughs out if you're interested in hearing more of my opinions. Ring the bell to be notified, like and subscribe to keep updated on me, Beano Mac, but above all else though, please remember to have a nice day.